I do believe we are. I do believe we're live. I think. Maybe. Hello? Are we live? Okay, now I'm hearing myself. Okay, cool. Yep, we are live. We are live indeed. Just doing a little fun test of my stuff. This is my first time doing this sort of thing. Here, this thing is a little. I'm not used to this. It's cool. And the page I am working on here is from Grieving Princess. The two characters you see are the purple one is Concord. He is a prince. He is from the Storm Kingdom. If I can use the right color shade. And the other one is Lacrimosa. She is a princess, an elven princess from the Mafia Kingdom. She's, of course, the pink and green one. So this is, if you would like to comment, if you happen to be watching, go ahead. I'm just trying to figure this stuff out and get used to it. I might, so, um, okay, so if you don't hear me for a little bit, that's because I'm muting my mic. I'm just, I'm a little excited over this. I apologize. So, um, Grieving Princess is one of the 4 series, technically 5, I've been working on. I am Victoria. I am the creator of Phantom Eclipse, Grieving Princess, and also Flowers of Solace. If you happen to be following me on my YouTube, you might already know this perhaps. I don't know. Okay, so for the most part, I never thought I would do like a fantasy series, like this sort of fantasy, like classic fantasy, basically. And whenever people think classic fantasy, Lord of the Rings come to mind, The Hobbit comes to mind, things like that. I just never imagined doing that. And then last year I had an idea, and I just sort of like, no, I don't really want to do that. And then I just kept kind of chewing on it and turning it over in my mind. And finally, last year I was like, to heck with it. Late last year I was like, to heck with it. And now we have Grieving Princess, and I'm trying to work with what I have. I'm trying to play with what's already known and out there, and just sort of thinking about it, and then trying to, I guess, see what I can do to make it my own, I guess. Try to own it so I can find ways to put something new out there to kind of revitalize, I guess, the genre. I mean, I'm sure there's plenty of other people out there who have done stuff with this, and don't mind me. I'm just looking for that. There we go. That layer. Since apparently I missed a few spots, so there we go. I think that'll do for now. I don't usually use this method whenever I do comics, but I wanted Grieving Princess to have a little different look compared to Phantom Eclipse, which is more like the classic comic style, I suppose. Or I try to lean more comic-y with that. I do plan on shifting back towards that with other stuff. I think in a way what makes fantasy a fun genre to write in is that there is, to start off, so much of it. So it's kind of daunting when you first think about it, like it was for me. But the key thing is to actually have a good idea of what's out there, at least in general. And you go and you look into it, and you find out what it is you like about it. And I feel like a lot of us, we grow up as kids with some degree of like classic fantasy. I got into Hobbit when I was a kid, and I really loved it. That was one of the books that I could just read over and over again. I had some favorite parts of it, like I believe it was the chapter where Bilbo gave the ring, not the ring, my bad. He gave the Arkenstone to the Men of Dale and the elves, because I think he was trying to stop the war with the dwarves because of just how bad things could get if they went through with it. And Thorin just was not thinking straight. I mean, I know what they did with it in the movies, and don't get me started on that, because it just irks me, because I feel like they literally had the map in front of them, and they tried to take an adventure story and make it into a you know, an action story. And I feel like if it was a new story, there would be no problems, you know? But it's The Hobbit, and The Hobbit is about adventure. It's always been about adventure, and I was just kind of, it's like in the moment I enjoyed it, and I think the movies are still very enjoyable. I just think that you have to sort of consider them their own entity away from the book to really enjoy them. I think that that kind of sucks, you know? Because you shouldn't have to do that with that sort of thing. You know, you should be able to be like, this is based on this book, you know, be able to like compare things a little bit and understand why they made key choices and leaving out parts of the story. Like if you watch the 70s cartoon, which I heavily recommend, you can see why they left out some parts of the story. I think they left out the part about Beorn in the cartoon movie, and they left out some other stuff as well. And of course, that was because runtime. You know, it's an animated movie that's a lot harder to produce than a live action movie these days, apparently. Which I guess I have to admit, I find that a little frustrating to hear. And that's just my opinion. You know, if you enjoy the live actions, then good for you. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if people are creeped out by the classic cartoon, and yeah, that's fine, but still. I just sort of wish that they had kind of. I mean, they did good with the Gollum thing. I apologize, I'm ranting a little bit. But, you know, that's. I probably wouldn't be trying to attempt my own fantasy series if it wasn't for the influence of J.R.R. Tolkien and Christopher Paolini and all those, and I think also Bruce Coville. Bruce Coville did the Unicorn Chronicles books, and I would like to get those and, you know, read through them again, or find an audiobook and listen through that at some point, because that's a good nostalgia trip right there, if you know what I mean. A good just trip down memory lane. So I need to do that at some point. So those are kind of, I would say, my influences, but I'm trying to lean away. It's like, take inspiration. You want influence, but you also want to lean towards what inspires you whenever you're trying to create something totally new. Because you don't want to be so influenced by what other people have done that uh, you lose sight of what you want to do. It's good to be inspired, but never be so influenced that you wind up just copying what's already been done and what's already out there. I mean, it's okay if you're doing like a fan story or something that you don't plan to try to put out there to make money, but if it's something that you plan to eventually, you know, try to sell, then you need to really work on the originality end, and you need to own whatever it is that you're trying to put out there. I mean, there are going to be overlaps in creativity because nothing is ever 100% original. I learned that with Phantom Eclipse because I started looking around at some point. I'm like, well, that has sort of a similar plot to what I'm writing, and that does, and that does, and it was just sort of like, well, crud, what do I do? And then I believe it's Wit Manga. He does a lot of really good videos on manga And he made that comment that there, in one of his videos, that there are levels of originality, and that's what I tend to really think. Try not to get too caught up on. You want to be original, but you don't want to be so obsessed with making it original that you lose sight of also making it good and still having fun while you're doing it. I apologize if I'm speaking weird, but yeah. And this is sort of a messy page for me for once because of kind of the different bit of art style I'm trying to go for here. And I do believe there is a little bit of a lag in the audio, so um, we'll just have to work with it. I mean, it's not like I'm particularly saying anything important, so we'll live. uh, and I actually had a different idea for how Grieving Princess could go in the start. And I suppose I'm just sort of speaking for myself here, and maybe someone will eventually listen to this later on and hear what I say here. But I had one idea, and I thought about it. I felt like it overlapped too much with another story I had in the works, so I wound up scrapping it and going with a different direction, and that's how we wound up with what I'm currently working with. And for the most part, I'm really happy with the way the story is going. I mean, I've been working on getting into arc 4. We're sort of at kind of a breathing point between the story arcs in terms of kind of slowing down a little bit after kind of a high energy charge bit there. So I'm going in and I'm trying to sort of catch up on certain things before I really and start planning out certain things, because chapter 4, not chapter 4, arc 4, my bad, will just be handled a bit differently compared to the previous arcs. And that's one thing I guess I really love about doing different stories, is that you can you have the opportunity to look at what you've already done and sort of mentally compare notes on certain things and go, well, I don't want to do this because I've already done it here. And I would say you can also kind of learn to do that if you're just a beginning writer and you just write a bunch of short stories and you use it as a learning tool. I would definitely suggest doing that, because writing is indeed an art form, and you can't just assume you can learn everything all at once, because there's so much to learn. I mean, I'm still learning. I still have a lot to learn, you know. And every time I put, I whip out ye old phone to write, I'm doing that because I'm mentally thinking about what I've already done, what I've seen done, everything I've learned from. And in a way, the writing part is a little bit easier for me than the art part, because the art is what really takes the longest in comics. I don't plan on doing comics every time I come up with a new story, but who knows. And I believe I have found my problem. Oh well. I apologize for this. I just have to wait till this thing gets done grinding and then there we go. Go in and try to fix it. And there we go. I believe here is the issue. If I can, there we go. Get this stupid thing to cooperate for 5 seconds. That'd be great. There we go. Thank you. And we are moving on. Okay. Let's get her wings out of the way for the moment. I don't know. If you're wondering why Lacrimosa has moth wings, I just had the idea at the start that I thought that lunar moths were really gorgeous, and so Lacrimosa's wings are heavily, basically, are lunar moth wings. I would say everyone else is going to have, you're going to have moth wings, you're going to have, variations on bird wings. I'm just going to have all sorts of fun with it, and then I'll probably want to silently scream because the wings are a love-hate relationship because they can be so fun to draw, but they can also be really difficult. So there will be wingless elves. These guys are elves. I do plan there being wingless elves later to, just so not everyone is, on the same level in that area. Just have a lot of variety there. I plan there being like a bunch of different like mythology type critters. Yeah, get involved. No, all sorts. Sort of look into that and see what I want to work with on the mythological animal side of things because I am trying to find ways to put in originality and learn what's out there and decide what I want to play with and how. In general, the story is mostly focused on the elves. That's just what I wanted to have as sort of the key focus, but there will be dragons and fairies, and I do plan on doing centaurs, and I feel like that's going to be even harder than doing the winged elves. I can draw horses. I used to draw horses a lot. It's been a little while. I did draw one recently ish. Some point last year. And I have reference material for that sort of thing, so I will have to probably dip into that and figure things out. I mean, I have some time, obviously, to eventually figure things out on that end. A lot of doing comics for me has been a literally learning curve on the as we go. I'm trying to move away from that because I feel like that's probably what's kind of crippling my ability to work faster is because I'm making up certain things as I go, and that's slowing me down, and that's not a good thing when you want to try to turn this into a business. It's not, because instead of focusing on getting stuff out there, you're focusing on covering the things that you should have technically already taken care of. So, yeah, I have a boatload of things I need to work on. But, that's why it's called an art form. It's about learning as you go, and nothing is ever meant to be, perfect. Because if everything was perfect, then what would be the point in doing it? It'd be awfully boring. You'd have artists out there who would literally draw something once and be like, oh, well, that's perfect. I don't need to do anything else. Moves on. So, yeah. That is the fun of an art form. You're always learning, and you're always discovering what you're capable of as an artist or a writer. So yeah, I will have to eventually get in there and do her wings on this page, but let me see. Okay. Oh, okay. I did do them on that page. I need to do them on not that page, that panel. Okay. I think I'll give that page a break and go back for a moment here. I have a bunch of pages I'm working on because I used to do a bunch of pages all at once. And I feel like that's hard to believe now because I move so slow and it's frustrating. But I used to literally do like 10 pages all at once. And I miss those days. I want to go back to those days. So yeah. I probably could have. I feel like I could. I keep looking at this page. I'm like, I could have done this better. I could have done that better. I'm just to the point of, I like the way it is. So I will. What matters, in my opinion, on any page is the readability when you come down to it. As in, does it lead the eye around? I mean, I feel like I could do better, but I also like sort of the flow here. I think that's a fairly good flow. That, and I guess one thing I will say is I'm glad to have kind of gotten away from the webtoon spread thing, because having to do with the webtoon style, it just really, in my opinion, it sort of cripples you in terms of what you can and can't do. And there we go. And it's frustrating because you want to do things and you can't, because your options are you either conform to their format and you utilize it as best as possible. You create your own format, and I sort of, whenever I was doing it, I don't really need that line there. I just went my own way with it because, as I wonder this, because my goal was to always try to do print at some point. As I killed that line there. So, yeah. And I believe I will call this little chat sesh to an end. I mean, it's been fun, but I believe I will call it to end. And if you happen to come across this, I hope you enjoyed it. If not, that's fine. This was more of a little learning thing for me, so I shall be saying bye-bye for now. If you happen to find this and like it, like and subscribe, and goodbye.